Hello gorgeous, my name is Gia. Thank you so much for watching. Here's another no makeup video for you, and I have new videos out every single Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday, so subscribe. So Atomic Habits by James Clear, first and foremost, was really well written. He's a great writer, he's a good salesman, and he is full of value. So every single sentence was loaded with something new to learn, where I felt like I was taking notes for the whole book. I mean, like, every word that he said was just so it's such a paradigm shift with his ideas. And so this book is about, in a nutshell, I will say, try to put this in one sentence. This book is about how to create small everyday habits that help you live a really good quality, high quality life. So that's my take on it. I'm sure, leave in the comments below what your interpretation of the book was, and please discuss with me what you gotta say, what your thoughts are. But so it starts out very brilliantly because he's such a good writer. He knows how to tell a story and really encapsulate not just all the feelings but all the facts. So he was hit he was hit in the face as a teen with a baseball bat because his life was baseball. Baseball was his career that he was ultimately aiming for, and he lost a lot of function of his brain. So to start off with, he had to relearn simple bodily tasks. So going through therapy for that is very difficult. I have experienced that from a secondary as a person who's witnessed someone going through it primarily. So someone in my family that I know had an aneurysm, and they're going through therapy to essentially work. They're like really young, in their 20s, and they're basically figuring out how to be a person again. They have all these memories, and they know how to do things in memory, but applying that is totally different. So theory versus action. So when it comes to application of what to do, so in this book, everything I'm going to say, this is obviously a spoiler and review, but everything I'm going to say here needs to be done. So you can have all the information in the world, is my expression that I always say, is you're not the smartest person in the world if you do nothing with it. So if you think you're really smart and then you sit on the couch all day doing nothing or playing video games, that's not applying your smarts, and you lose that eventually. It's like a muscle, it needs to be practiced, and action is what, using your knowledge towards action is what makes you infallible as a person. So James Clear lost a lot of function in his brain. He had to relearn simple bodily tasks. So he mastered his rebuilding of his brain with little habits each day, and we're obviously going to break it down. And he accomplished a lot in college baseball, but he never went pro. He created a blog that gained hundreds of thousands of readers, and created his own company that helped guided all sorts of sports teams, individuals, and businesses to access his same knowledge from what he learned in this experience. So he goes and so he's really, really good at what he does. And from what I learned, and from his book and his website, all of his different resources that he mentions within the book, he helps businesses thrive too, it's because business is like the ultimate self-development. Being good at something, like in sports, that's another form of really good self-development. But so he talks about the British cycling team, how they did small tweaks. The British cycling team, let's break it down first. They, for many years, didn't have a really good team. They never won in any in the Olympics. They never won any accolades. So what they did, they had this new coach who came in and started implementing small things here and there. And it wasn't like, okay, we're gonna be faster, so we're gonna lose 15 pounds, we're gonna do this. And no, he like saw little things. So for example, he implemented small practices like hiring a surgeon to wash their hands, to show the team members how to wash their hands so that they don't get sick. So obviously, when you're sick, you lose a lot of practice time, you lose a lot of your health, you have to rebuild. It's a whole setback. Testing which muscle relaxers worked the quickest, which is insane, that attention level to detail. Painted their van white to make sure no dust was on their bikes to create more drag so that they can go fast. So it's that accumulation of small things every day, 1%, that compounds. So James Clear mentions how it's not a matter of having habits that what's that word that people use a lot? I forgot. When they say habits add up, no, they compound. So those who ignore our family okay, so he made another example of that daily 1% to put in, that those who ignore your family that come home late from work each day. They'll forget. We say that our family will forgive us. But eventually you do regret it later. Those who constantly see the bad in people will start seeing it everywhere, and our brain is just poisoned with bad thoughts, with all these negative, toxic thinking. Instead of having a clear mind and a clear judgment, habits are a double-edged sword. So 1 degree shifts unlock a huge change with ice melting. What? Oh yeah. So sorry, I'm just reading my notes and I didn't really go over them because there's so much. Like, this is gonna be a bit of a video. So 1 degree shifts. So there's just 1 degree that makes ice melt. 1 degree lower, that below freezing, that or above freezing, that makes it melt. So just think how powerful that is, of 1 degree, 1%, one daily thing here and there. They say, people always ask, what's the difference between $1 and $2? It's not much, but when you incrementally add that up and scale it up, and you say, what's the difference between $1 million and $2 million? Okay, there's a difference. So 1 degree shifts are very important. So breakthrough moments are reaction of previous actions. So when all these moments that you have clarity and you realize this transformation has gone on, is because you took a bunch of little things and added them up to have this one eventual. Like, when you lose weight, you don't go to the gym for a few minutes and then expect to lose 10 pounds. It's all the time. So cancer is an undetectable in life and takes over in months. So that's another way of saying it, of how fast things spread. So the most hard outcomes are delayed. And you know that famous experiment with little kids who had to prolong themselves with a marshmallow? Like, if they ate the marshmallow right away, they eventually made not so good habits in the future. And then if you tell them to wait and not eat that marshmallow, is what I'm saying. Sorry, I need to start from the beginning. And if other kids who didn't eat the marshmallow right away when they were told to wait, they eventually they can think of like the long-term benefits of things, and so they stick to what they're doing now and do a little sacrifice, so that those kids in the future did end up having a bit of better quality life. So persist to long enough to break through the plateau. So it's really hard when you're in the journey, but the point is to get the journey started and stick to it. And that's the hardest part. We'll get to that. So the outside sees the most dramatic, but what you see is all the little everyday things. Like, I know, so for those of you who don't know, I used to be a professional guitarist, and I have girlfriends who have never touched music in their life, or guitar wasn't even my first instrument. And for a lot of you musicians who are trained, and a lot of my friends who like went to school for music, who I was also classically trained, we all like touched a bit of everything, touch every single instrument, and we could play at least a few good songs and just jam. Where, like, this girl who's never touched music in her life, my friend, she came to my house, saw the guitar, and I was teaching her some very basic things. She couldn't even pick them up, and she was saying, can you teach me guitar? Can you teach me? She was basically asking, can you teach me years and years of blood, sweat, and tears in 5 minutes, and how to be an expert in 5 minutes? And because I played her a song, and she's like, wow, I wouldn't do that. And it's like, well, yeah, let's get started, but I can't exactly just take this part out of my brain and put it into yours. So the point is to plant seeds, and getting rid of a bad habit is like uprooting a giant oak. So that is, you have to incrementally also work backwards from it. So if you have a really bad habit of being, I don't know, for example, an alcoholic for years, it's going to take probably some years to get rid of that and get rid of the thinking and understand how that happened and reverse engineering everything. So starting a good habit, it's like planting little seeds. Forget about goals, focus on systems. So I am a huge fan of SOPs, systems and operations. Okay, so I cannot speak, my throat's hurting a bit, but here we are. Actionable goals is create systems. So results have very little to do with goals, so create systems to reach the goal. So something that people laugh when I talk about my goals is they think my goals are crazy, and I do them, and then they're like kind of in shock. And I don't see why they're in shock, because I knew in my head I was already going to reach them. I already reversed engineered how to do it. I knew all the small steps to get there. And so I'm very good at shocking people like that, but people just don't think about, oh, they're doing this every day. Oh, they're thinking this is their life. It's very different from mine. So they can't wrap their minds around it. So You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. I thought that was a brilliant quote from the book because it does matter how well we practice. I remember one time my dad asked me if I practiced enough. I was playing flute in some band, and and he asked me, "Did you practice enough?" And I said, "I don't think I practice." Or he asked, "Did you practice a lot?" And I said, I don't know if I practiced a lot, but I know I practiced well." And he's like, "Yeah, that's true. That's more important." So to understand, like, I see people who like practice piano, and instead of practicing the hard part that they're having a trouble with, they'll play the whole song, fumble through the hard part, um, and then play the rest, instead of focusing on that hard part for a bit, transitioning into it, transitioning out of it. But instead of doing just the hard part, they start from the very beginning and then fumble through the hard part, so you don't practice properly. So systems are very important. So shift your identity, look at your new identity and act that way. This is actually something I always say. So if I'm someone this is, I think, important to reaching goals, this is how I already feel and why I always talk myself up around my friends. And they're like, "No, you're not. No, you're not." Or they'll like look at me skeptically. They don't have to say anything, just grimace, and that's enough. So I have huge dreams all the time. I'm obviously a dreamer, very like, I can see things in the long run, and it's important that if you are going to be a rich person, how does a rich person act? They're obviously counting their pennies or making sure that they're not being charged overtly for these things. They're not just dismissing, "Oh, did they overcharge me? I don't think so. Okay, I think they did. I don't know." They like speak out and say something. So where a poor person like doesn't care, they just like are generous in the wrong places, and they kind of throw money in the wrong direction or throw money away. So you have to act like the person that you want to be in order to reach your goals, and you will eventually get there. So it's like a bit of Pygmalion effect. You have to also compare yourself to the type of person who wants this versus who is this. So who am I now versus who is that person, and how do I get to that point? So it's a lot of just logical thinking and breaking down what you already know about yourself. However, our perception of ourselves is not the same as how we actually are, and a lot of the times it's very wrong. And I know this because I see a lot of people who kind of delusional. I'll ask like very basic things, or maybe my standards are just really high next to theirs. So who knows? So, well, I know because I read about it, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So act like the person you already believe to be. So it's a lot of mindset first and foremost. So who are you? Who do you want to be? And believe in who do you want to be in order to be that person. I see a lot of this. So when it comes to excuses, what makes it hard to change and grow is excuses. Like, I live with someone who makes 1,000 excuses. They will go unnamed. But every time I say something that is very simple and actionable, like the spaghetti is in the top of the fridge, just open the fridge and it'll be at the very top. And this person's tall, so obviously it'll be like eye level to them. So it's the first thing they see. I make it really easy, and they're like, "Huh?" And they make 1,000 of excuses of why they can't see it. And I said, it's very simple instructions. All you have to do is listen and do what I said. But their brain just doesn't process things like that. A lot of people repeat the story of excuses to themselves over and over for years. So another thing is to make sure that everything in your life aligns with your mindset. So because when levers are all in the right positions, they create good habits to be effortless. So if you already believe that things are going to go a certain way, they will. If, say, for example, say you plan on having a good day, you prep the night before, and then when you first wake up, you think, "I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna drink tons of water, I'm gonna have coffee or breakfast or whatever after I work out, and our post-workout food," and you think, "Okay, once I get this done," the night before, you're thinking, "I have to have my workout clothes ready, I have to have my water bottle ready, I have to have whatever gear you need, equipment to get things started, get the ball rolling," so you don't have to think and make an excuse to hang back and not do that thing and get your day started. When you set yourself up for success, it's easier for you to implement that and hop into your success. So 4 laws of creating good habits are: 1, cue, so make it obvious; 2, craving, make it attractive; 3, response, make it easy; 4, reward, so make it satisfying. So ask these questions if you're not reaching these goals, if there's an issue with your process. So processes are number one. What you're basically doing is trying to set yourself up to have as little energy that you need to put in when the time comes to actually having to do it. So with your habits, there is something called implementation, and this is when you set yourself up for success to create whatever action it is you want to do. So first things and foremost, when voters were asked to vote, they were asked also, like, hey, what bus stop are you gonna stop at, or what bus are you gonna take, or what time are you gonna get there? When they ask these basic things, basic information to actually do the things, people were more likely to vote, and people actually more of them actually ended up voting. And so implementation intention is the intention of knowing where and when you'll do things, and people will more likely do it just because they know the details around the things. So knowing the time and date pushes you when you have the basic facts down of reaching your goal. So for example, if you want to lose weight, you ask, what exercises am I going to do? What time of day am I going to do them? What foods am I going to have more of or cut out? So be productive with a concrete plan of action. And there's no need to think, you just have to do the plan. He talks about called habit stacking. And it's when you have a habit and then right on top of it, you'll do something else. So for example, after the current habit, after I get out of my work clothes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. So you'll have the tendency to go to the gym. Like, there are days when I wake up and I put my workout clothes on. I don't leave right away, but I will see that I have the clothes on, even the shoes on sometimes, and realize, oh yeah, I have to go to the gym. Why am I getting caught up on the computer doing all this stuff? So you can change your habits using sight on fixating on what's in your environment. If your vitamins are put away, you won't realize that you have to take them. You won't practice your guitar if it's like in the closet. So a way to change your environment is increase better habits by switching up your environment. So if you want to be more creative, go in a bigger space. Like, instead of working in a tiny room, or even in your apartment if you live in New York, go to the library. Go to a big space, something with architecture to inspire you, that when you want to go out with your friends, like, they might want to drink more. Other friends, like, I have this experience, like, just this past week, or all the time when I see my friends, they'll put the pressure on me, kind of, not intentionally, but they'll say, I'm not going to have another drink unless Gia has a drink. And I'm like, I don't want to hold them back from having a fun time, so I'll have just like a sip of a little something, but I wouldn't even finish it. But then I feel later obliged to finish the drink. So it's part of your environment is very conducive to what results you're going to have, and it's important to associate that with the memory of the thing that you want to do. So like, the couch can be a memory of eating ice cream while watching movies. So you can associate that with being indulgent and lazy, where if you remove a TV from your room, you can sleep early without thinking about watching TV or your laptop or iPad. So the point is to work in a space that's different than your regular, so you can focus on your creativity and your brain can expand and you can actually do something. So go to like the rooftop patio or a bigger room, or just a room with expansive architecture. If you're trying to eat healthy, go to a different market than your normal, because then you won't go to your routine of normal stuff that you already know where it is. You're kind of challenged with being faced with new products and new things. And if you notice in the market, this is like one of the classic marketing trips or marketing tricks that they do when it comes to selling, is they have all the really important, basic, essential, necessary stuff for cooking all the way at the back of the store, and then the stuff at the front is much more expensive. It's stuff they want to get rid of. It's branded stuff that you don't need necessarily, and then they move that to the front so that you pop in and see that right away. And when you're at the checkout point, have all of these candy bars, and they're like less than $1 or less than $2, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna add this too. So it's important to have the right mindset when going into habit and action, a project, whatever it may be. And when you can't be predictable in your original environment, you can rearrange, find, or create a new one. And for those of you who are currently like living in a lockdown situation and you're in a small space, what you can do is, like, say you use one chair for reading, your desk for writing, and then a table for eating. You don't have to necessarily have like a lot of real estate for this to work in your mind, as long as you associate certain places with certain things. Like, he has a friend, James Clear has a friend, he mentions that he uses his phone just for personal texts, uses his laptop for writing, and then only uses his iPad for reading. So just assign tasks to things. And every habit should have a home. That's the whole importance of having an environment, making it easier for habits to thrive when they have a specific enough thoughts attached to them. So in recent studies, that's the end of that sentence, by the way. In recent studies, when scientists analyze people who have self-control, they're not that different from those who don't have self-control. It's just that they live a life that doesn't have many obstacles to do the things that they're not supposed to do. So I can totally relate to this. Instead, people who have self-control structure their lives in a way that don't require self-control. So I have a lot of friends who ask me, like, how do you wake up this early? Or how do you do this? How do you end up doing these things? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is my life. This is what I already do. This is not like an involuntary thing that I have to think of. This is the way I wanted my life to be. And that's how I know people just say, like, throw the word manifest around. So I don't throw that around because I like to say make it happen. So this happens to me a lot. I notice I have a lot of self-control when out with friends, and sometimes just can't relate to others because I do naturally think differently because I set up my life this way, and my mind is just so hardwired to do something else than my friends, I guess. And this could be like saying no to just eating packaged food. And my friend and I, we try to out healthy each other, and he's very, very healthy. Like, he moved to Puerto Rico and he's like, there are no vegetables. And I was like, haha, I'm out healthying you here in Los Angeles. And even when he's in LA, he's like, oh, finally I can get like a green juice and some vegetables in Los Angeles. And I said, well, I bet you get yours from the market. I get mine from my friend's tree in the backyard. So basically spend time in less tempting situations. So people with more self-control, as I said, live a life where it's really easy to do the things that you're aiming toward. I put myself through a lot of tempting situations this past week, which is why I'm sick with a cold. Like, I have been staying up so late instead of and like watching TV shows when I get home instead of just going to sleep properly at the right time. Create a more disciplined environment. Take action, not wishing to create habits, but just start now, even though you're not ready. So one of my favorite expressions is the best time to plant a tree is 5 years ago. The second best time is now. So just get started, even if it's not perfect. An effort is an effort. When you look back, you can perfect them as you go. Make habits desirable. Our old brain is being faced with new temptations in a new environment. So we have years and years of craving sugars and fats and whatever bad things for us because it was so rare in society out in the wild when we used to be hunter-gatherers. But today our highly concentrated pleasures are really easily accessible. Like video games are highly concentrated things that happen that you would like obstacles and puzzles and things that you want to do in a video game. I don't play video games, but I used to play them sometimes. My family likes them, where like instead of actually going out and do things, it seems really boring when you can do all these crazy things in video games. Same with alcohol today is so much more concentrated than it was when it took so long to find a good source like grapes or whatever and ferment them, or you can ferment anything and then drinking them, processing whatever, and brewing it. So we have hyper palatable food these days. There is literal science dedicated to creating junk food and packaged foods. So the consistency of like kale and spinach and string beans are all the same, and carrots, and it's very much the same all throughout the time that you eat them. So it's not exciting and your mouth isn't very excited about it. So there are certain foods that you eat that they engineered. For example, nacho cheese is like super gooey and it goes great with the crunch of the chips. What was the other one? French fries are like golden brown, crispy on the outside, and then smooth potato on the inside. It's really easy to just manufacture pleasure these days, but studies have shown it affects how we learn. Let me back up. Sorry, I'm getting so ahead of my notes. I'm sick. My head hurts. But dopamine was associated with pleasure originally as the brain chemical for pleasure, but now studies have shown it affects how we learn, increase motivation for habits, in parenthetically. So interacting socially and movement, so like exercise, etc. You can activate dopamine doing these things, and I'm sure a plethora of other things, but dopamine hits usually before we do something. So when I see a cake, I love sweets. If I go to a bakery and I see a cake that's beautiful and like if you cut it open and it's like rich on the inside with multiple layers, I will be very excited, very thrilled. But when I have it, I'm just like, okay, I had the cake. That was delicious. but now what? So dopamine actually hits right before the things happen, not while you're doing those things. It's literal anticipations. It's a predictable chemical reaction that happens when you anticipate the pleasure, not when you react. So, not when you do those things. So, just think of that when you have a temptation. If there is a temptation, if you set up your life to have temptations or just things don't go your way that day. But difference for wanting rewards is bigger than liking. So smaller parts for liking cover the brain, where wanting, like that is such, like in Buddhism, the fact that you want something is already how you messed yourself up. So desire. There was a student in Dublin, an EE, electrical engineering student, who hooked up his TV to his laptop to his stationary bike because he wanted to lose weight and realized, you know what, I gotta take some plan into action. And he devised the plan that every time he would, so Netflix would play, but only when he was on a stationary bike. But after a certain speed, that would go down. Like if he was riding too slow, then Netflix would shut off. So I think that is brilliant. I wish all of us could do something like that. So a genius is not born; it is created and trained. The Hungarian Laszlo, I think he was a scientist. Forgot his first name, but it's something Laszlo, because I cannot pronounce his first name. No vowels in it. It's just all consonants. Join a culture that sets your expectation to be normal, where your desired behavior is normal, where surround yourself with people who want the habits to rise yourself, and you will rise together. Let me see this here. So have something in common with the group, and with a group of people. So surround yourself with these people that want to be like you. And there is a group in, I think, New York, this guy created, or the East Coast or something, in the US East Coast. There was a bunch of like outcast underdog nerd people who loved Star Wars and loved gaming, and they all knew that they needed to lose weight. But it's easier to lose weight when you have an accountability partner who isn't just like trying to lose weight. If they both like something, then they realize it's okay. If they see that person doing that thing, then you realize it's okay. Like it opens this thing up in your brain. Like I have a friend who I thought was just like a party person, but then I saw them getting their life organized, and it made me realize, oh, it's okay to be, it's like I'm not the only one who's organized, so I feel even closer to them. So when you have an accountability partner who you have something in common with, you're more successful in the things that you want to do, especially because you see that you can do it together, and that it's okay to do those things, even when you didn't think that it was necessarily possible for you. When someone mirrors you quite a bit and is very similar to you, then you can kind of picture yourself, your identity, to be associated with that new habit. Nobody wants to be cast out of the group, which is very, very biologically innate for many years. many years does not express it well enough. But so there are chimps that have known to be cracking nuts in their group in a way that's very efficient, and to eat the nuts, where when they took the chimp out and put them with a new group, they would pretend that who only used like a very inferior way of cracking the nuts. That same chimp who already knew the best way to do it will devolve and act like they don't know how to do it and just copy them, because they do not want to be cast out. They want to be part of the group. And that's the worst thing, to be alone. And I definitely do think, I don't think like when you choose to be alone, that's fine. You just need like a day to yourself, whatever it is. But when you're like alone socially and you have no option but to be alone, then that's another story. So we want to imitate people we like and look up to. If a behavior can give us approval, respect, and praise, we want to continue to use it. So there is a guy who said they were in a wheelchair. There's a guy who was in a wheelchair, but someone said to him that they implied that they're sorry that they're in a wheelchair. He's like, no, I'm glad I'm in a wheelchair because I have the freedom to see the world. If not, I would be bedridden. So it's just a matter of your perspective and how you see things. So frame your habits to highlight your benefits. And instead of saying, I need to run to the treadmill this morning, say, I need to build endurance and get really fast. So saving money monthly or weekly doesn't stop you living life, but it gives you more freedom to spend whatever you want within that budget. And but it does give you more freedom in the future to have more options in what you want to do, like say for retirement, moving away to a new country, whatever. So I personally see this when I go to Sephora and I have only $100 I want to spend. That means I have $100 of spending whatever I want, as long as it's within $100 or it equals equal or less than $100. So I do not see that as, oh, I only have $100, because I don't need a lot of things. I have a lot of things already, and I barely touch a lot of things in my place. So that's not it. You just have to think. You have to put your perspective to benefit you. And another thing with your habits, walk slowly but never backward, never regress. So this was awesome how he broke this down. There was a study done in university where it was a photography class, and the professor had the groups halved, had his audience, his students halved in two groups. One group had to were graded on the quality of their photo, so they only had one photo for that semester, and then the other group was graded on their quantity. So the more photos that they put out, the group that had the better quality photos, can you guess who they were? Put it in the comments below. I will give you some time. Put in the comments. Give this video a like. Share it into the algorithm. Okay, the group with the most high quality photo, with the one photo that they had to submit, or the one with the most photos? Which group? Okay, so the group that had the better quality photo was the one with the quantity. So they got to practice. They got to change the lighting, every single photo, every single thing that they did with their creativity and all their composition, things that they knew. They applied that to all their photos, and they got a lot of practice. They nailed it. They tried everything and tried to see what worked, and then they got to see the best photos came out from them because they applied the processes that they knew. Where the people who the people who had to submit one photo and had to, they just ruminated for hours and hours and hours thinking what makes the best photo, and they submit one photo, they did the worst because they just sat there and thought. They were thinking about it. They say 20 hours of thinking, I think it's 2 hours of work always beats 20 hours of thinking. So it's just a matter of taking action. That's one of my favorite quotes. So preparation becomes procrastination. So just get started. Just get started. Even if it's not perfect, I don't care what you say. Give this a like if you are getting started. Give this a like. Get started and give this a like. So habit formation. So the more you repeat an activity, the more the structure of your brain becomes efficient at that activity. And gives you long-term potentiation. So you kind of create this muscle memory of the things that you want to do. There is so for example, if you I do this all the time. I map my routes out of what I'm going to do for that day with errands. If I need to go to the post office, if I need to go to the bank, if I need to go to the gym. So I will find the most efficient way to get there. So first off, the gym is the closest to me, so I'll go there first. Then it's the bank, then it's the post office. Or if one thing is not open at the time, then I can always go through that list of places, map it out, and then come back and see if they're open by the time I'm there. So you achieve more with less effort. So cleaning up feels good. Cleaning up our room, our space, our workspace, our car, makes us feel good because we lighten the load of environmental obstacles that weigh down on us. So the path of least resistance is what we want, where the greater friction, less likely less likely that we will commit to the habit. So how can the good question to ask here today is, how can we design a world where it is easy to do what is right, the things that we want to do, whatever, however you feel about that goal. So habit tracking is visually satisfying. So I have one here. This is a flow journey chart. So every week I have to check off if I had a supplement, and when you see it all checked off, you get really excited and you enjoy the journey even more. You enjoy the process instead of just the goal. When you realize, wow, this transformation has happened, it's no, you see it every day, and sometimes you don't think of it creates even more urge to be consistent and change your behavior. So it also keeps you honest. So to record your habits, you gain an understanding of what you actually do versus what you think you do, and we have a better view of ourselves, or worse, depending on your self-esteem. But usually it's better, because I will see some people who have a really good view of themselves and they are just out of touch with reality. Don't be one of those people. So measurement offers overcoming blindness to our behavior. So we have to visually see it. We have to take action. Feel good. yeah, it does feel good to watch your results grow. And you also fixate on the journey rather than the outcome, which is more important because you're setting up processes, systems, but instead of focusing on six pack abs, you focus on, oh wait, I want to cross off another day on my calendar, so of doing well. So you become more the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. So the 2 day rule. Say, I don't know, you miss 2 days of working out, it's important that you get right back into it right away. Right away, no excuses. And you pretend that those 2 days didn't happen. It's like, yes, they happened, but I'm going to treat it so that I'm going to get back into it so quickly, so efficiently, that it's like I never missed a beat. So the first rule of compounding habits is to never interrupt them unnecessarily. Stick to your habits. A really good point he makes is consistency versus our mission. So a restaurant can create revenue based on volume, how many people are coming in to order dishes, but it's the people who come back as return customers or who leave a good tip that measures your quality and how well you're serving. So, and that's a small percentage of all those people who are coming in, or not if you're doing very well. So nobody does crunches every day just to get abs. It's the why do you want to be consistent, or why do you want to have abs in the first place? Because you feel good about yourself. You also want to feel comfortable when shirtless on a beach, or just like any time that you need to show your midriff area. What is your mission, your why that drives you? So it's a transformation that propels us into toward achieving our goals and creating habits to get there, but it also helps the journey along the way to know what you're trying to do. So work with what you have. Another thing is, say for instance, like genetics can help you. Like for Michael Phelps, he is, of any sport, not just swimming, has the most gold medals and broke so many records. Like every time I remember watching him during that year, that every time I was watching it with my whole family, and every single time he was in there, he broke another record, and I was like, when is this guy gonna stop? I do not want to see the ceremony because his neck is gonna hurt from all the medals. But if you see his like genetic makeup, it's really good for him to have a swimmer's body where he has like the broad shoulders, the really long torso, the shorter legs, like a tadpole kind of. But it's good to know what you're working with. If you are genetically made for what it is you want to do, that's good. If you are not, then you probably have to work a bit more, but understanding what you have to implement what you want to do is really important. So work with what you have. Like me, I have a really like gritty attitude when it comes to achieving my goals because I used to like overcompensate because I'm the youngest in the family. So I have to show that I'm so much more. Everybody else just automatically got immediate recognition, and then I didn't. I had to like work 10 times harder. And now I'm kind of outdoing these people. No, but like now when it comes to doing something, I put 110% into everything I do, just because I was raised in, just because I had to work so much harder for it in general. And so now every time I do something, I put really great effort into it. So just work with what you have, and first off, believe that you can do it. So James Clear asked advice from this baseball coach. What can you say about reaching your goals? And he said all of these things that everybody else always says about good habits. But there was one thing that stood out where he said, fall in love with doing the boring things and showing up for practice every day. So like, are you going to stick to every day, all the boring times that you have to show up? Like, the fact that you have to just like practice, the fact that you have to be there, the fact that you have to do certain things all the time, you're gonna get good, and you're not gonna realize it right away. But when you're in it, you're gonna think like, okay, I'm doing this, I love doing this, but it really does compound. So stay consistent, and when you hear all of these platitudes, all of these normal things that you're promised when like achieving goals, if you've heard all of this information already, this just validates that what you know is already true. What you know applies to you. You just haven't been consistent with it, or you're not doing it in a way that is the best efficiency for you. So you have to follow through or you have to rethink your plan on what you're doing. So say for instance, if you floss every or if you Google search something and you don't get results, you're not going to want to Google search things anymore. You're just going to be like, I'm going to use another search engine. Why am I doing this? So if you just stay consistent with what you're doing, and show up all the time, you can apply these things to even if you have a business or if you have kids. And let me know what you think of this book. It was really great. Personally, for me, I listened to the audiobook version, and there are so many downloads and like things on his websites and resources. Like he has a habit tracker that you can use. So let me know what you think in the comments. Share this with someone who is thinking of getting the book, or tag them. And thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. I have a new video every single Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and I will see you later.